Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Smart Connected group and podcast. I've got a most fantastic guest for you tonight, the lovely, bubbly Laura Muse. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Jane.
It's so great to have you here, Laura. I was actually a guest on Laura's podcast recently, and I couldn't wait to get her back because not only is she a very successful property developer and investor who's managed to raise funds for her property. How much money have you raised, Laura, for your property project?
In my first 18 months, we did about 4 million.
4 million pounds for her property project. So she's a very, very smart lady, but also she's a lot of fun and a great laugh. And we're going to have a good time tonight. So, yeah, aren't we, Laura?
We are indeed.
Yeah. So anyway, Laura, let's get straight into it and just tell us about your story and how did you come to be this kind of incredible person that's raised all this money? Where did it all start for you?
So 2014 is when it kind of really started. My mum at the time, she unfortunately got diagnosed with cancer. I was in a corporate job, the dream job that I went to university for, and it became pretty apparent that I couldn't do the job, and obviously I wanted to spend the time with my mum because it wasn't going to end well. So I decided to leave that role and spent some time with my mum. Sadly, she passed away in 2015, and it really, I know that, Jane, obviously you've had a life-changing event, and it really does change how you think and how I wanted my life to be. So literally I set up my own business in the equestrian world for about 12 months, and then I kind of decided to have a little girl. So me and my husband now, we've got a little girl, Isabel, and it really just changed how we wanted to live our lives. We didn't want to be a slave to the 9 to 5. I didn't want to be exchanging my time for money, as many people don't. We wanted to create something that, even when we were asleep, would still earn us money. Fortunately for me, James's family are into property in quite a big way. And for James, it was the only option was to get into property full time, build a portfolio. So I took the leap into that in 2018. So after my mum passed away, I had about a year off work. Really, it really affected me, and needed to sort myself out. So 2018 went into property full time. Became pretty apparent early on that we needed a little bit more money than what we had. So we'd sold a company and quite a few other assets really we had to kind of be uncomfortable to get back to where we wanted to be. So James sold his company. We had a holiday home we sold, nice car when, but when we literally traded all of this in for creating a new life. So in 2018 we did that, and 2019 came, March of 2019, and we thought, oh my gosh, the money that we had kind of all tied up in refinancing. What are we going to do? I'm a big one for mentoring, so I did have a mentor at that time, and who is a really good friend of mine now. And he said, you really need to be pushing and using social media. I'm like, who on earth's going to listen to me? I've just started out in property, really. It's my husband with the experience, not me. He says, yes, but you can be the face of the company. I kind of didn't believe him. And from March, I literally posted every single day on social media for about 7 weeks. And it took me 7 weeks to get my first 2 investors, and they invested £600,000 with us, which on that day one, there is no way on this earth I ever thought in a million years somebody would have invested in me, in us, but they did. And it really just snowballed from there, demonstrating our projects and what we'd done, what we were doing. And it just really propelled us onto this track that we never expected or dreamed of. So that's me in a very small nutshell there.
That's such a great story, Laura. And first of all, obviously, we've had this conversation before, but I really am sorry for your loss. And I know that must have been absolutely devastating. And as a cancer survivor myself, I really, I'm very, very aware that every day is precious. And I'm sure that as you said, you just get a different perspective when you've had that kind of experience, whether it's somebody close to you, whether it's you yourself. So, but what an incredible achievement, really. And it's really interesting that I'm interviewing you tonight because we only just finished our finance raising accelerator program that I did with a guy called Arshad Ali. And we actually said to our mentees that joined us at the beginning of the program, what you're going to do is you are going to find your ideal investor in 90 days or less. And they're like, really? And people said to me, I think, Jane, that's a bit of a big promise. I don't really think that they're going to be able to do this. But they were all people who already had experience. They were very investable. They just really didn't know how to use social media and how to leverage social media, or perhaps be open to the networking as well. So, because the two go hand in hand. I mean, social media is an online form of networking. And do you know the exact target that we set was the exact target that they found in that 90 days. And it is powerful. Social media is so powerful. And I think investors, they are out there, aren't they? And they are looking, but they tend to be quieter than obviously people who are looking for the money. But it doesn't mean that they're not there just because they're not showing up, they're not liking, they're not commenting. We are being watched.
Honestly, Jane, what you've just said there, I mean, none of the people who have invested with us have never liked or commented on anything we've ever done. Never. They've just literally watched to see if we're being consistent, watch to see, that we've started a project, we've finished it, we've overcome any obstacles that we've had. And then we've got that inbox message, can we please have a conversation? Let's arrange a call. And like you say, but they've never engaged with me at all prior to that inbox message, which is weird but wonderful.
Yeah, it is weird in a way because you realize that you have been watched. And that all that time that you were just thinking you were putting stuff out and nobody was listening to it and you were just doing it anyway because you're just plodding along and doing it day after day after day. And then all of that time, there was somebody out there, or there were a group of people out there that they were just taking it in slowly and deciding how they felt about you, because I think people do buy people, don't they?
Yeah.
And they will have bought into you because they resonated with your values. And it's not just about, the projects, they have to be interesting to them. But on the whole, when you take on an investor, you are taking on a partner in your business, aren't you?
Yeah.
And they want to work with people, investors, of course, we all want to work with people that we like and who we enjoy working with. Hi, Andy. Hi, Dan. Yeah. So, Laura, do you feel as though when your investors did pop up and you got the message and you finally got to take the relationship offline and so on, did you feel as though they were people who you resonated with quite strongly yourself as a person?
Not everybody, no. I got a real mixed bag. So I got some people who, really seriously wanted to invest, didn't want to waste our time, got straight to the point. We built a great relationship. We know the wives' names, the children's names, the dogs' names. That's the type of relationship we have with our investors who invest with money on a return basis with us. I got a lot of people who made out they wanted to invest but actually weren't serious about investing. Okay. I like to call them brain thieves. Just want a lot of your time for nothing, basically, which is fine. But we're all trying to build our own business. Mm-hmm. So you can't take too many of them calls, is one thing I would say to anybody. I was very, at the beginning, I was getting these calls. It was really exciting, and I was giving so much of my time to helping so many other people that actually I wasn't doing what I needed to do for me to push my business forward, which was talk to, spend time with the serious investors. So I implemented a bit of a system into my, I call it an investor journey, what I do in my business. So basically when people were contacting me, I asked them to fill in quite a detailed investor registration form. And it kind of, because it was quite long-winded, it did cut a lot of people out who weren't that serious. So I had a filter system. I know that sounds really like cold.
No.
But I think it was really important to implement that, especially, you know, I'd done it for a couple of months. I was probably getting between 30 and 40 inquiries a week, which is a lot, a real lot. And I would say probably 3 or 4 of them were serious investors. The rest of them weren't. So it was important that I put in some kind of filter system, which we did. And then, you know, from that, really, it's gone from strength to strength. There are people who are serious investors who have got money and they just didn't sit with my personality. And I got into what I do now for the choice, and I choose the people I work with because I get on with them and I can see a relationship. If I don't get the best feeling about somebody, I do say no. And it's okay to say no, because if you don't feel like that in the first instance, I don't think that's ever going to change. That's my personal opinion on it. And, you know, we don't all resonate with everybody we meet, do we? So I think it's definitely for us, especially because we're lending people's money over a longer period of time, like 3 to 5 years. Yes. It's not just a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It is a long-term relationship. So, you know, it's really important the people who work with us, we do get on, and there's some synergy from word go, really, some connection.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think whether it's your client or your investor, but I think with the investors, I think the thing about it, as you rightly pointed out, is it is a long-term relationship. And I mean, even if it's one project, it may be a year or year and a half or something before they're actually out of it. So that is a long time to spend working with somebody. And so therefore, you know, they are in your life, and you have to make sure that they are people who, you know, there has to be some flexibility there and some willingness to work through problems if and when problems arise. Don't you think? I mean, is that something that you would try and assess up front, Laura? And if so, how would you do that?
One of the first questions is to us, what if the deal goes wrong? You know, what's your expectations? That is one of the first questions that we ask. Yeah. You know, and depending on what their reaction is, it kind of makes we need to assess people's risk factor. You know, what is the risk appetite? If they haven't got much, is it really something that we want to lend money for a development project? Probably not. I don't think it's in the type of projects that we do. If they've got kind of a medium to high risk appetite, and they're willing to have them conversations, we can come up with a plan B, C, D, and E, which we do. You know, we have multiple exits for all of our projects. If they're happy with them, then you know that's kind of the investor we would work with. But you know, if somebody's very risk averse, and you're lending money for a long period of time, things can go wrong. You know, last year is a prime example. Very fortunately for us, the people that we work with, they've lent money to us for a 3 to 5 year period. So we've got another 2 to 3 years with some of these investors. So, you know, we've come through that. We will come through that the other side. And, you know, can't say 100% it will go to plan. But if we were lending for 6 months, 12 months, that can be pretty disastrous for some people. And I know that it affected a lot of people last year. So, and we're always, you know, every quarter we do have an update with our investors. Even if they're parking money with us for a longer period of time, things change, people's healths change, people's situations change. They may lose a job. You know, we're not going to just tie people in. You know, you've lent it for 3 years. There is no way that you can get that money back. We like to. It's a two-way relationship. It's not just one way for us. And a lot of these people are now friends. So we try and help people out as much as we can. Don't know if that answered your question. I went on a bit of a tangent then.
It definitely did. So Laura, have you been in a situation where an investor has asked for their money back and you've said, well, you said you'd lend it for this amount of time, and they said, well, no, I've changed my mind and I need it for something else. Has that ever happened to you?
No, not yet. I'm sure it will happen. I'm sure it will. We have got one investor that we spoke to just before Christmas on a 12-month term who said that he might need his money back early because he wants to buy a property, which is not a problem. But what we can then do is we can plan. So we can start planning, right, okay, so they want their money back in July. These are the things that we're going to put in place so that we've got that capital to give them back, plus their interest. So for us, it's all about planning our cash flow situation. So, we've got our accountant plays a big part in our role. Every month we're all sitting down, right, this is the cash flow for this particular month. What projects have we got coming up? Right, we've got to pay this investor's interest back. So where's that money coming from? So we're constantly planning forward all the time to ensure that we can service the loans that we've got, because that's really important to us. There's many people that can take somebody's money, but can they give it back? And that's our number one priority. So we always have our own cash reserve pot, if you want to call it, that, if things do go wrong, we can actually physically use some of our own money to plug the gap, give it back to people, pay people's interest. Because we would never want to let somebody down because they put their trust in us in the first instance to lend money. So
yes, that's right. And reputation matters a lot as well, doesn't it? Trust, reputation.
It takes you such a long time to build up a good reputation, but it can be gone in seconds, and it really can. And I've seen it times many. And that's one thing where we would never want to destroy what we've built, because it takes us a long time to get that back.
Yes. So I've in this business myself, so I talk to people who've perhaps been in property for like 30 years, and they just work with a couple of investors, and their relationship is so relaxed that they just, every project they invest, would you like to? Okay, yes, I will. And, it sort of just happens in that way. On the other hand, I think when you're starting out, you do have to work with quite a few people, don't you? Do you see that over time, Laura? Do you think that there might be one or two of your investors that will stay with you for 20, 30 years? Are you beginning to see those kind of long-term relationships developing, or are you more comfortable with working with a group of investors who are just just churning and turning? And how is it for you?
For us, it's more longer term. So the people that we do who invest with us, they, like I say, they're longer term, 3 to 5 years plus. Mm-hmm. They're all from they're mainly abroad. We've got a couple that are based in the UK, but they are mainly abroad. They can't get mortgages in the UK, for example, so it works for them to park their money with us. They all have said they would like to do it longer term. We've done it before where we've done it per project, i.e. smaller projects, not like the developments that we're doing now, like on a buy-to-let, for example. And it's just very stressful, it's very messy, and it's just it doesn't sit well with us doing it in that way. So now we're going on to larger projects. Obviously, these people want to lend more for longer.
Yes.
And we've even got one couple now who they've only invested with us probably just under a year. They've recently just sent us some more money and just said, it's looking to retire. It's retirement planning for them. So they're looking to retire in a couple of years. And then they've said, once we retire, we'll top up the pot. But then can we draw down our interest on a monthly basis? So it's basically the retirement, a wage each month. And we're happy to do that because it works for them and it works for us to do that as well. So for us, we like to work with people on a longer term basis. Obviously, if people's situations change, which that's completely, we deal with that as that arises, but we prefer to stay away from the one-hit wonders, as we like to call them. It's just personal preference, and we want longevity with our investors, not just short term in and out.
Yeah, I understand. So Laura, let's talk about social media now, because you are a social media powerhouse by anybody's imagination. So you have definitely smashed social media. So, so how did you do this? Did you have a mentor? Did you go on a course? Did you just experiment? Did it come naturally to you because of your background? Let's hear all about social media.
Yeah, so I have done a lot of marketing in my previous life, but I'd never really pushed social media with my previous career path, so to speak. It was a mentor that pushed me to go on social media, like I said earlier. But in regards to courses and things, it's not something initially that I'd done. It really was trial and error, and I was absolutely petrified of putting myself out there, as many people that I speak to are. That fear of being questioned, of not being good enough. It is a mindset thing. It really, really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I just tried things. If they didn't particularly get any engagement, I tried a different way of doing it. The first social media course I did was actually April last year. So in lockdown, I thought, what can I do with all this extra time? And I did a couple of modules, and I thought that's all I need. I'm quite on the fly. I'm not a massive planner of social media. I know, you get real opposite ends of the spectrum with it. People like sit down and plan for hours and weeks ahead. I like to kind of, if anyone's seen any of my type of content, it is a bit raw, out and about, doing things. It's always a bit on the fly. But that's just me, and that's kind of how I am. So that's what I've always done, and I never really thought too much about it. And I certainly didn't think for any, I'd get any speaking opportunities from it. I was just literally documenting what I was doing on a day-to-day basis, and documenting our development as we kind of went on this journey. Facebook is my go-to. I love Facebook. I'm still working on the other platforms like LinkedIn. I'm certainly not at your level on LinkedIn yet, Jane. I'm trying my best. But like I say, I'm a bit on the fly. So, writing something quite text worthy for me is not my forte in life. I mean, I can't spell at all.
Well, the live videos for you then.
Well, yeah, so that's basically all I've done, Jane, is live videos. Since probably, for the last 2 years, its majority has been live videos into a property group, because obviously my niche is property. And then, after a while, I got more confident and comfortable, started doing it on my own profile. And the power of doing it on my own profile, actually, especially from an investor's point of view for us, there was a lot of people I've known for many years, never expected them to have any money to invest. And they're some of our biggest investors, and they've known us for a long time. So tapping into your own network of people was something I never thought would, no one would lend money, especially from our own network, but it's been the most lucrative one for us, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I suppose you would say that's warm traffic as opposed to cold traffic, because they already know you. And so that familiarity, it breeds trust, doesn't it? So, but you're right. I think we always tend to assume that people, if we know people, that they are a certain way, and we wouldn't necessarily think of them in that way because they haven't shown up in that way to us.
Yeah.
So people can always surprise you, can't they, Laura?
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, I think what stops a lot of people from utilising social media is, overthinking things have to be perfect, and people want to see the perfect video or the perfect text and imagery going out there. But actually, people really want authenticity. And if you're not, the best speller in the world, or you're a bit on the fly like I am, people actually gravitate towards that stronger than this perfect, polished image. Because let's be honest, we're not all perfect. We've all got some kind of flaws somewhere. And I think that makes people resonate with you more, whether you're an investor or a customer or an end user. I think, gone are the days of polished, and here are the days of raw and real.
Yeah, it's funny that you should say that, because one of my mentees, he made a comment to me the other day, and he said I said, so what, why did you choose me? Why did you actually make that call? And he said, well, I saw one of your videos, and he said it was like an early video, and it was obvious that you weren't very confident. And he said it just made me feel kind of quite relaxed. I just thought, she's doing it anyway, and I kind of admired that kind of courage that you. And all right, okay. So yeah, a kind of backhanded compliment, but you're right. People, they just want to see you as you really are. Really, isn't that it?
Oh gosh, definitely. But in anything, you could have any business, and I think the way people buy has definitely changed. I've seen it. I used to be part of a business group in my local area. And, there were people from plumbers, costume makers, all utilising social media, all in very different target markets. But the concept was more or less the same. It was them in front of a camera, demonstrating a product, demonstrating the service. I'm demonstrating a service that we provide. And I think the way people buy now has certainly changed. I don't think people buy from brands as such anymore. They buy from the person. And it is that whole thing of know, like, and trust.
And I think that's what people always wanted, actually. It's just they didn't have the opportunity before, because, we don't really like the idea of these faceless, nameless corporations, do we? We want to buy from real people, and we want to establish relationships with real people and to have that connection. I think it's really important. And of course, social media does actually facilitate that, doesn't it?
100%. I mean, the thing I love about social media is I am a little bit lazy. I'm not going to lie. And the thing I like about it is, I've got a young daughter at home. I don't have to be going to endless networking events all over the country, which is what I were doing at one point. I think it was January 2019, I went to like 22 networking events, morning, lunchtime, evening, spent so much money. It wasn't really effective because I was so tired by the time I got there. Whereas now, I mean, obviously when the world opens back up, I can, pick one or two networking events I really enjoy go to, and the rest of my time I can utilise on social media because it's a one-to-many platform, as is speaking. So public speaking. So anything that's a one-to-many strategy, I like. It builds up the know, like, and trust. You get them touch points in with people, which is a really powerful thing. So people don't think of social media in a way as it's a touch point, but you put one video out onto social media, it can reach hundreds, if not thousands of people. Now, if you do a video every day, that could be 7+ touch points you've had with that one person in that 1 week. Then if you put them into an email campaign, again, you're sending more information, additional touch points. Then you have the phone call conversations, and by the time they're ready to buy or you're ready to sell, you can have overcome many objections before you've even got to that point by doing live videos. Telling people what the concerns are. For us, it's normally what's the security that we get lending money. Well, actually, we can do a personal guarantee, a first charge, or overcoming them seeds that people do have in their mind of, I want to buy that product or service. You can overcome that by the time you've even had that phone call with people on social media.
Yeah that you can do anything, really, can't you? Laura, we've got some questions coming through. So Richard Wasik says hi Wasik. Richard says, I've got lots of connections on LinkedIn, followers on Facebook and Instagram. He says I'm not he says I'm not perfect grammarly, but I occasionally leave a typo. I've done hundreds of live videos, and some watch 18 months to 2 years later. That's interesting, isn't it? That it's out there, and people they're willing to go back in time. So
yeah. I mean, I don't look at my back in time videos, I'm not going to lie, because they absolutely mortify me.
I know, it's like, oh my God, I really need to buy that new face cream. Yeah. So let's just talk about multi-purposing content for a moment, Laura, because that's how to do it like a pro, isn't it? Yeah. So do you multi-purpose your content, or do you just like really just go for it on the lives and just do the live and keep going, or do you actually turn any of your content into blog posts, put them up on YouTube? I mean, how far do you go with actually repurposing your content?
So I've got a podcast as well. So what I try and do is I will try and do whether it's a live video about something I'm doing or a podcast, I try and do it as a live video. I do it into a group because it's classed as organic content. So that's one stream that I've got out there. It's organic into a group, so it's unique into a group, so it's going to get more organic reach. Then I'll save it. And then I'll upload the video again onto a personal platform. Again, it's unique to my personal profile, so it's going to get maximum reach. Then what I'll do is, if it's longer edit video, it goes onto our YouTube channel. We chip it down into little sections so that we can use that for advertising on Facebook, Instagram, for example. And then what we'll do is we'll get somebody to take off the audio, put an image with it, and they can type that up and repurpose that. I don't massively outsource my social media. I'm too much of a control freak. I tried it once. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody trying to type Yorkshire, but it's quite funny.
Yeah.
So I kind of knocked that on the head pretty early. So I tried outsourcing the typing for about a month. Didn't work out so well for me. I do need to retry that, but I've got a guy who helps me out with my YouTube channel. So he pulls all my podcasts, makes them into little edits, makes them long, the longer streamers online, and we chop them up. But a lot of my stuff is just live videos. I'm not a massive planner, but I get out as much as I can. So audio, obviously visual, text and imagery, but I'm not a massive planner, Jane. I'm not going to lie, and I don't use any like scheduling tools either. So I don't use things like I've tried like Social Bee and things like that, but
there's Hootsuite, isn't there? That some people
Hootsuite, yeah. I've not really tried them because the feedback I've kind of got from people as well is they reduce your reach because it's not authentic to that medium. So, but like I say, Facebook's mainly my platform of choice, and Clubhouse these days. I quite enjoy Clubhouse. So.
Yes, Clubhouse. That's that's a big one. So I am starting on Clubhouse next week. I mean, I've had it on my phone for a while, but it's certainly, I know that people are getting very good results from it. It's just you do have to dedicate a bit of time to it, don't you? So it's just an extra one, isn't it? So so I think it really is about having systems that work for you, isn't it? So I've got sort of little systems as well. So Dan, who kind of set us up tonight, he does all my podcasting and he repurposes it and distributes it, and he is the person that does everything for me on the podcasting, which is great, because then all I have to worry about is just getting fantastic guests like you, and just having a chat, which I mean is really my favorite thing to do. So it works very well for me. So it's systems, really, isn't it? Always systems. And
I think as well, like what a lot of people do tend to do when they start on social media is they try and be on every platform, and it's just so overwhelming that people stop because it's too much. It really is too much. My advice for anybody who's literally just starting is just pick one or two, get really good at that, and then move on to something else. Don't feel you've got to do a Facebook profile, three Facebook pages, Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, TikTok, LinkedIn. Like, that's just a full-time job in itself.
Oh, really?
If you're not outsourcing it, you really need to be regimented a little bit. Actually, do you know what? I'm going on at this time. I'm going to do a Facebook post. I'm going to spend about half an hour after replying to the comments, and then get on with your day. It can be very consuming, and you don't want to be you want to be a content producer. You don't want to be a scroller, because scrollers it's dead time. Produce content about your business, what you're doing, and how you can help other people. Reply to other people's, comments. If you see people who are supporting you, comment, back on their posts. But apart from that, try and have a bit of a cut off from it.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's actually one of my favourite authors, MJ DeMarco. He wrote The Millionaire Fast Lane and Unscripted. And one of the quotes that I like from him is he always says, be a producer, not a consumer. And that is basically his philosophy around entrepreneurship. Don't be somebody that is just sitting there taking in. Be the person that's out there and actually, giving out. And I completely agree with you. And I think I did that when I first started on my marketing mastermind, which was a couple of years ago. I realized, oh my God, everybody's doing all of this and I'm doing nothing. All I'm doing is posting pictures of my children and the dogs on Facebook. I thought, why am I here? It's like, oh, this is an absolute baptism of fire. We had this WhatsApp group and everybody was posting all their stats, and these stats went on for kind of, they're just forever. And I was like, oh, I don't know any of this. And then, so I thought, right, I've got to get really active. I've got to get really busy, So I got set up on Twitter. I went on Instagram. I set up my group and I did the, set up my page, and I've started my podcast and I, publicly launched my book and all of those things. And for about 6 months, I was literally like every single day, I've got to do social media. I've got to do social. And then I just kind of realized, look, you know what? I'm supposed to be running a business here. I'm not a content creator. That is not my job. And, I've got to rein it in and I've got to contain it. So like you, I occasionally post on Twitter. I mean, Dan does some posting for me because he puts my podcasts up. I do a little bit on Instagram. I'll put like a little bit up there. I'm not on TikTok. Obviously, I know some people who are smashing it on TikTok, and TikTok's a great platform. But you're right, you do have to pick your platforms. And at the moment, I'm not really kind of going for it on Clubhouse because I'm just busy in my business. But I know it's good. And how have you found it, Laura?
I love it. I must say, I really like it that you can, the thing is with Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you've got to spend time, sit down, write a post, for example, do the video. Whereas I like Clubhouse because you can actually listen to it while you're out and about doing your day-to-day, getting your jobs done. If you go into somebody else's group and they ask you to speak, great, you can have some input. But if you don't want to, you can just listen. So we've got a couple of groups, mainly property groups, women in business and property, and a social media group. So we do 3 groups a week, and it works really, really well for us. We've got quite a few interested parties, should we say, from it. But the thing I like about it, which, speaking to other people, this is what they don't like, is you can't record it, you can't reuse it. It's one-off content. But I think that's the draw for it for me, is I like it because actually, if I don't listen to it now, and it's been very clever how they've done that. If you don't listen to it now, you're not going to hear it again. And I quite like that. It creates a bit of a mass audience, a bit of a frenzy. People, get involved and you get extra followers on. And the thing I like about Clubhouse as well is it doesn't just keep you on that platform like, Facebook, LinkedIn. They want you to stay on that platform. They don't want you to go off to your website or onto a different social media platform. They want you to stay there. Whereas with Clubhouse, it tries to push you onto Instagram or onto Twitter. So it's trying to push your audience to follow you on other platforms to grow them following. So that's what I really like about Clubhouse. Will it still be the same when the world opens up again? I think it's got a good chance. I think, because it's on the go, you can listen to it, instead of an audio book or a podcast, you can listen to it in place of. But I still think, obviously, podcasts have got the place because, again, it's evergreen content, whereas Clubhouse isn't evergreen content. And one thing I just wanted to go back to actually, Jim, what you mentioned is groups. So setting up your own social media group, really, really powerful for any business, because you're basically creating your own pond to fish in. That is your target market of a group you've created. You are the go-to person, the person creating the content, the person connecting others. Great way to get business is by creating another group, and you can do it for any niche, any niche it would work, and it's that community feel. So there's a feeling of belonging in there, and again, builds up the know, like, and trust.
Yeah, it really does. And I think the nice thing about it as well is, of course, that it gives you expert authority. And, that is something important, because if we are providing a service, we want to be recognized for that service as an expert and an authority. So that is the good thing about groups, for sure. So I completely agree with you. But the other nice thing is that you can bring your values into that group. So when it's a bit like being, like a leader of a business or an owner of a business or whatever. You can mold the business in your form. So, for example, on my group, I always say to people that we connect smartly in this group. We don't spam one another. We're actually here because we genuinely value connections and relationships, and we do it the smart way. So we build trust and credibility. We don't just kind of go straight in with like the the pitch before we even know anybody. And I think people really respect that, and I think it resonates with a lot of people, because some groups are very open and they let anybody pitch whatever they want, and other groups, they're very strict and very controlled by the owner of the group, and they don't really let anybody else come in and post. And that's fine. It's horses for courses, isn't it? But we all have a choice, don't we? If we have a group, we can make it our group, a bit like our party, right? We're inviting people to our party. Remember those days?
I do remember those days. I mean, they feel like a long, long time ago. I'm surprised I can remember.
Yeah, I know. And we were having this conversation beforehand about what we look like from the waist down when we're on Zoom and on these phone calls. And I had a bit of a confession that I've got this dress on, and underneath the dress, I've got my trackers and I've got my sliders. So I'm afraid I'm only glamorous really down to the knees, and then it's all downhill from there. So Laura, how about you?
What I've got on?
Yeah, are you glamorous from the waist down?
I've got some multicoloured socks on. My office is lovely, but it does get a bit cold.
Yeah, that's the way, isn't it?
It's been snowing here now for about a week, so yeah. I'm a bit over the snow, and I'm fed up of being cold.
Yeah. So, well, at least you haven't got your wellies on. That would have been.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, isn't it? So all over the country, you've probably got people that are looking quite smart, because they're sort of dressed up for work, and then they've got that kind of, they're in their pajamas or something. And, yeah, I know.
But it's weird. We were saying earlier, Jane, weren't we, like just putting makeup on for a Zoom call? How life has definitely changed.
I know.
The only time I actually put makeup on.
I know. It's like, oh, it's Thursday night. It's dress up night.
It's glamour night.
Oh dear. Yeah, we were both talking about the high heels, and like when are we ever going to wear high heels again? Like who cares? I know. It will come round though, won't it?
Definitely.
And what's the first thing you're going to do when everything opens up, Laura? What are you really looking forward to?
I know it sounds really sad. I'm really looking forward to going for a walk and then going to a pub for my lunch. Like just a real typical English pub with proper English food. Yeah, I can't wait. All my walks are normally planned around a pub stop, and they're all shut.
I know. And there are probably some great pubs in and around Sheffield, I would imagine.
Oh, definitely in the Peak District. I do like a gin and tonic when I've had a little walk, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, that sounds like the perfect end to a long walk, a gin and tonic and a pub lunch.
I'm having to take my own gin.
Class.
What's that clinking? I have no idea.
Yeah. Well,
what about you?
What about me? Well, okay, so I miss going into Mayfair and walking into a really swanky bar. That's what I like to do, to be honest, like in a hotel. So the Mayfair Hotel, the Mayfair Kitchen was my favorite place to hang out. So if I ever got the chance to meet somebody there, I would, because it just had such a kind of lovely vibe to it. So I like those kind of cocktail bars. There was a cocktail bar also, of course, it's still closed, but it's called the Cahoots, and it was fantastic because it was actually built in a kind of disused underground station, and the theme was like wartime. So you go down there and they'd be playing, and you had a secret code to get in, and you had to book and give doorman your secret code, and then you go down, and it was all kind of like this wartime vibe, and everybody was kind of dressed up in these 40s clothes, and all the cocktails were themed. And so those
that's so much more glamorous than what I said.
Well, I unfortunately or fortunately, I have to say, that I guess that's the benefit of living just outside London. But I have to say that I also like country walks and pub lunches and gin and tonics and the whole lot, so it will all be back. And then if you come down to London when it's all over, we'll have to go and visit one of those cocktail bars.
Oh, definitely.
And have a celebration. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a really, really enjoyable chat. And just great to hear about all your success in social media and property development. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, first of all, what's the name of your podcast and how can they find it? And then secondly, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so it's the Social Propertypreneur podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. And then we also actually, Jane, if you don't mind me mentioning, we've got the property success. So basically, we do a social media success group for property investors on Facebook. So if anyone is in property and wants to know more about social media, please feel free to join that. But yeah, all the social media channels, website is www.isquaredproperty.co.uk. So you will find me definitely lurking around social media. If not, you can catch us on our website.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Laura, and we'll look forward to seeing your progress going forward.
No, thank you, Jane. It's been lovely to speak to you tonight.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.